And that's why, for my own self, I think friendships, I think relationships, I think partnerships, I think community, I think work, all these types of relationships are so critical for our own well being. And it's how we treat these relationships that really shows us how we treat ourselves. And as I mentioned, sometimes you need to know when these are good relationships for you or bad relationships for you. Self serving relationships, non self serving, healthy, non healthy, however you want to label it. You have to know which ones are necessary for your life and contribute to your life in a way that completely matches with how you live life. And it is about finding that harmonious level of balance between you and other individuals. And it's always going to be moving parts. There's so many things that affects individuals that they usually bring to a relationship that they don't realize affects relationships as a whole. So it's really necessary to work on an independent level to heal your own past trauma, your pain, your suffering, your stress, the things that stress you out, the things that trigger you to feel the stress. And then also coming together and healing the pain that you have together, if it's suitable, healing the trauma created, and really checking in with each other to make sure that you're both on the same level. And it's so important to keep these lines of communication open in any type of relationship because then it allows each other to know where each person is at. And so I really think that it's important to look at how communication in all realms when we're stressed and not stressed and how that affects our relationships as a whole, and really like developing a very healthy, more honest relationship, but like not needing to pretend, like really truly honestly, mentally, physically helping each other out independently and together. And healing is such a private thing that I feel like when you come to any relationship, no one's always going to be 100%. Everyone's going to come with their baggage, their issues. So it's about how do you deal with that? How do you help it? Where do you put your energy? Where do you put your efforts into getting better results and being able to show up in that relationship, being able to show up providing help, guidance, support, whatever that may be able to give. And that's what relationships are. It's about giving and receiving. It has to go both ways. If it's only going one way, well, as you can see, that can lead to stress, which will burn you out. Not the kind of relationship that we definitely want. You need one that gives and receives. It's like breathing. You can't inhale without exhaling. And in order to inhale, you have to exhale and continuous cycle. The same thing with relationships. You have to give and receive both ways, and it has to go both ways. And if it doesn't go both ways, then this is time to evaluate your relationships and the health of your relationships. So, really developing some time together, do things that you love to do together, really nourishing those relationships through communication, through doing things together, through spending time together, and make this time intentional, make it stress free. And what do I mean by that? Like, join in with each other. If you like to cook, do that together. If you like to watch a movie, do that together and engage. Like, do things together that you really enjoy doing together. And this can really help build that strength with your relationship and partake in each other's interests. Don't just, because we don't like it or somebody doesn't like something that you don't partake. Maybe it can open up your world to something that you never really thought of trying. Or maybe you'll gain something that you never even thought of before by participating. So, really sharing in things together and really being open minded will really help you allow yourself to take away your own expectations, take away your own requirements, and really be just open to things occurring and happening. And I mean, in a romantic relationship, it's so important to touch each other, to have a sense of touch. And it's so important. It makes us, I mean, I'm sure if you're in a romantic relationship, if that individual that you love touches you in a nice, kind way, you know that it sends signals through your body. I know I feel it, and I know that it just floods my entire body. And it's so important to keep touch in the forefront of our mind when we're dealing with relationships in a romantic way, because or even in a friendship way. If you're a hugger, like I love hugging people, I always hug people. It just shows my gratitude for them, my love, my care. It's just so important to have touch, and it just improves that connection between us. It sends these signals, these different chemicals of oxytocin to our body, for instance, and really makes that feel good signal occur, and helps also work with trust. If you trust somebody to touch you, then then you're okay with it and it'll give you that good feeling. So strengthening yourself will through touch can really help rekindle your feelings towards each other and reduce stress. So, I mean, just as you know, you're feeling sad and someone comes to hug you. How good does that hug feel? Just makes it things melt away. Just makes you feel like things will be okay. You're reassured, feel good. So just think about that in a literal sense of when you're dealing with a relationship, how important touch is for us to break away from the stress and really fall into a better state of mind. And I mean, in a relationship, everyone has needs. You have to meet your own needs first. And this is your primary needs I'm talking about on a mental, emotional level. It is your responsibility to meet your needs on those levels. If you're not feeling good, it is not somebody else's responsibility to make you feel good. This is a job that you have to do. If you're feeling sad, this is your responsibility to investigate and make yourself feel happy so you can show up for that person. However, if that person is contributing to the way you feel sad, unhappy, then you do need to communicate this somehow. And some people don't feel it's safe to communicate this. So that's why there's third party people that can just be a mediator between you and allow yourself to talk about these things, to share these things. But in any type of relationship, you should be able to express what you need, express what you are expecting, express the things that you need to change, and express what is and isn't working. And if you're not on the same page, then perhaps your energy needs to go towards something else or a different relationship, or maybe this relationship doesn't serve you or can't be moved in that direction, that there's no mutual agreement. So that's when you know you have to cut ties. But at some way, shape, or form, it's really important to know that just because somebody doesn't meet your expectations, just because somebody doesn't meet your needs, doesn't mean it's time to cut it off. It's sometimes really healthy to express what you need, but individuals may sometimes take that as criticism, and they're just not able to create that degree of separation to really listen and hear you out. So it takes some practice, and that's why communication is so important. You have to set yourself up to get to this point by setting the platform and building the platform slowly. So this starts becoming the way you interact with people, and also the way you ask for things from people. So when you're afraid to ask for what you need, then you're also afraid to ask yourself of what you need. So you need to gain some gain some confidence to meet your own needs. So then you're able to meet those needs within a relationship as well. And your needs from that person should be certainly lined up and I mean, I'm not saying make a contract, but should be expressed. Should be it should be, you know, it shouldn't be a secret, because then you'll never meet up that person will never meet up to your expectations and standards, and then you'll be disappointed, which will stress you out, which will then burn you out. So that's why communication in my mind is critical in any type of relationship. And then, of course, set up some check ins with each other. Check in, just see how things are going, see how you're feeling. You know, the question, how are you? I just love this because people throw that out. Hey, how are you? As if it's just like a icebreaker way to start a conversation. And most people say, "Oh, I'm good," or "I'm great," or "Okay, I am feeling okay today." But like, are you really? Just question. Do you really feel okay? Are you perfectly fine? Are you great? That's why I feel like when I try to have conversations with people, I ask intentional questions. I ask questions I actually care about. Like when I do really ask, how are you? No, like really, how are you? Are you good? Not good? What's going on? So like I make a true statement with my questions. So that's what checking in is for, is to really make these statements with your questions to really see honestly how somebody really is. And I get it. This is our social nature of how we communicate with people, even people we don't know. Most people ask complete strangers, "Hey, how are you?" You think a stranger is going to divulge how they are to you? Most likely not. Most people, when they ask me how I am, for jokes, I truly answer the way how I'm feeling, just to see the response. And when I say I'm not doing very well today, their reaction is just, "Whoa, wasn't expecting that," because everybody's expecting the same old answers. Just a little experiment I try. So these check-ins should be regular, they should be ongoing, they should be intentional. Don't just throw out questions that don't mean anything. Don't just be there because you have to be there. Don't just do things because you have to. Do things because you want to. You want to know how they are. You want to know what's going on. You want to know all these things about them. That's when you make healthy relationships, not by throwing out unintentional questions that have zero meaning to them. And you could care less what the answer is. So, anyway, this is just a little bit about stress and our relationships and how you can make your relationships more healthy and more intentional, more meaningful. And this isn't just going to be a one time thing. I think our relationships are really really strained in this modern day, and maybe they've always been. I know in my family generations, just knowing a bit of history, all their relationships have always been strained. And the whole context of family and whatnot, and what we hinge on, the definition and what that looks like, isn't really reality in a certain sense, where this cookie cutter lifestyle occurs when you have all that. So I think it's really important that we know it can be ever changing. We know our relationships are dynamic, and to keep them as healthy as possible. But that requires us keeping ourselves healthy. And so when you keep yourself healthy, then, like I said, they trickle into other parts of our lives, and you see things maintaining or becoming more healthy as well. So I'll leave you with that thought, because that's something big to think about. And the reason why it's big to think about is then I'm trying to encourage you to visualize how that would even look for yourself when you feel like things are really good for your own self, and how that will trickle into other parts of your life. And for relationships, they're so critical, they're so important to us. We really need to keep talking to people, keep developing relationships, keep extending ourselves to relationships, keep giving and receiving in our relationships, and really develop a strong relationship with thyself. And once you do that, then you won't be your own enemy. You will be your best friend. And that's really how I can conclude this. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. Subscribe, share this with anybody that you feel is challenged by their relationships. And I'm going to bring you some more great information about just how stress impacts our relationships and things that we can do to constantly improve ourselves as well as our relationships around us so we can get the best out of the people around us, but ultimately the best out of ourselves. So I hope you're able to get some value out of that today. I'll see you soon.